Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. I've got loads of questions for you today. We'll jump right into them in just a second. As you've probably noticed, it's slightly different to normal setup. I've got a new camera and stuff, so it might be a little bit different to usual. It's all very experimental, so if it all turns out weird, sorry. Okay, before we jump in the questions, you know all the like, share and subscribe and stuff. And shop at KendoStar. KendoStar is the best shop in the world for Kendo equipment. Of course, I'd say that because I run it, I own the place, but it is really, really fantastic. And if you don't want to take my word for it, check out our Trustpilot reviews. We are the top rated Kendo supplier on the internet, and we're the only one with a full 5-star Trustpilot rating, Trustpilot being an independent reviews aggregate. So yeah, it's awesome equipment, it supports the show, and yeah, it's brilliant, so go and shop there. Right, let's start with the questions. Hi Andy, thanks for your help. A question please, what is necessary for a nidan, that's second dan? I know you have already produced something about it, but I'm 56 years old, I'm slow and overweight, and I started Kendo again 2 or 3 years ago. How do I prepare for the nidan test? Thank you very much indeed. So for nidan, what you need to do is you just need to make sure that you're making strikes with kiken tai no ichi. You don't need to be super fast, you don't need to be super athletic, you don't need to perform any extravagant or exuberant waza or techniques. You just need to make clear strikes that fulfill the criteria of yuko datotsu. That means valid strikes, okay? So strikes that have kiken tai no ichi, where the sword, body, and spirit is all together as one. Generally, as a general rule with fumikomi and Zhang Xin, okay? If you do that to an adequate standard, then you'll pass nidan, okay? Just focus on that. You don't need to do anything tricky or flashy or anything like that. Next one. Hello, Andy. A question on Jigeko. Should I use the practice to execute all I've learned, either through training or Mitori Geiko, which I do a lot, by the way, or should I just simulate a real shobu, similar to Shiai, where we try to win? I heard that we should do Kendo in the same way in both situations, but I can't do that. I know it's but it is known in Shiai we do all we can to win, including all strategies used to win. But sometimes I feel uneasy, almost regretting it, when I go to practice with senseis in my dojo, seeking only to get ippons out of them. But afterwards start feeling that I could have done better if I just fought with good posture, semi, fumikomi, etc. No matter if I get hit hundreds of times, even without getting an ippon during the entire practice. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to know where I can benefit the most with Jigeko practice and what should be the correct mindset or spirit for Jigeko. So I've talked a lot about how you should approach Jigeko. When you approach Jigeko with your peers or your juniors is different to how you should approach it with your teachers or your sensei. Okay, with senseis, it is pointless to try to take ippon at all costs. Of course, you should try to make the ippon. You should try to make the yuko datotsu, the valid strike, and try to make the correct strikes with full spirit, with sutemi, good fumikomi, good posture, and try to challenge that against the sensei. There's no real benefit to just trying to win at all costs against the sensei. It's not a competition with them. That's quite good practice to do with what's called gokaku geiko. Okay, so they're practice amongst peers, people who are a similar grade to you or level. All right, yes, you can do that much more competitively. You wouldn't use the same kind of mindset necessarily that you do in Shiai, especially for Jigeko, which is like free practice. But if you do like ippon shobu or something with them, then yes, you can definitely turn on that mindset then. When you're practicing with juniors though, it's again pointless for you to just try and rain down on them to try and score as many points as you can, because you should be able to do that at will, and that won't be helpful for you and it won't be helpful for them. Instead, you should be trying to provide the good example, try to perhaps perform waza that you struggle with or find difficult, particularly try to take the initiative or the sen so that you can perform debana waza against juniors or people of a lower grade than you. Next one. Andy, do you think we should wear a cup for the safety of the family jewels for Kendo? My club is not extremely aggressive, but I've seen a senior get brushed over there. Okay, so you mean like a cup that people wear for sort of contact sports to protect the groin area? So for males, obviously, I assume you're talking about. It's the only one I've got experience with anyway. So I don't wear one. I don't know anyone else that does. I'm not saying don't, but, you know, the tare is there to protect that. You know, if it makes you feel more comfortable wearing one, then by all means, there's nothing stopping you. Okay. But I don't. I never have, and I don't know anyone else that does. Next one. In a case where space is limited or you don't have any gear with you, what are the best exercises you can do without equipment to improve your kendo? Ashizabaki practice, so footwork practice, okuriashi, practice to move your right foot forward and then left foot quickly, right, left very quickly, not right, left this way, right, left, not like this, but right, left. Right, left. Okay, I know you can't see my feet, but I hope you can get the idea. You can practice suburi even like with a rolled up piece of paper containing questions. You could even practice some suburi this way. Okay, practice your form this way. You could do even with footwork if you've got space. Okay, if you don't have equipment, if you do have equipment, but you've got not much room, you can sit on a chair and do suburi. I've got a video about how to do suburi at home. So go and check that out. And most importantly, you can do mitori geiko. Mitori geiko is watching practice. That's when you watch videos of people doing kendo. It doesn't have to be videos, do it live. But when you watch kendo and you try to take as much as you can from what you're seeing in the video. Next one. What is your favorite kata? I like kata number 4. My favorite kata. I don't really think I've ever thought about that. I quite like number 7. To be honest. And I quite like kotachi number 3. Okay. Right. Next one. What's the correct Zhang Xin for katate tsuki? Do we move forward or backwards after the strike? Also, a lot of videos show people letting the Shinai hit the floor as they step back after katate tsuki. Is that correct? Okay. So, for the most part, the most common Zhang Xin for katate tsuki is tsuki, the thrust to the throat with one hand. Katate means one hand, so it's where you strike out with one hand. For the most part, after striking back that, you would move backwards. Okay, you would move backwards. You'd strike and move backwards this way. Okay, you wouldn't generally go forwards, but there are exceptions. It's not black and white. All right, it's acceptable to do either, but it depends on the situation. All right. As for hitting the Shinai on the floor afterwards, it's best not to do that. Okay. It's best not to do it, okay? Try not to, when you're doing practice, if you do kata tsuki and kihon, try to practice not doing that so you don't develop doing that as a habit, okay? Sometimes it happens, sometimes they get knocked out of the way, but and sometimes people do it on purpose. But I will say it is best not to, okay? Next one. What is a good way to clean the scar back to white? Any good bandages, dressings for training camps when blisters form on the feet? So I don't know of a good way really to clean the scar back to white. I've never found a successful way, and I've never really bothered about it either. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's gonna get dirty. It's gonna turn blue eventually anyway. So I wouldn't worry about that massively. Good bandages and dressings for training camps for blisters. I just use zinc oxide tape, which I just get off Amazon or something. It's just like a really easy to tear tape that sticks quite well. So that's what I use. Next one. So everyone knows the standard kendo exercises: suburi, kirikaishi, uchikomi, kakari geiko, oikomi, mawari geiko, jigeiko, and of course the bokuto keiko and the kendo kata. So just to be clear on this, Suburi, obviously practice swings, kirikaishi, cutting and return exercise. Uchikomi is striking targets that are presented by the motodachi. Kakarigeiko is attacking practice where you try to do lots of attacks in a short space of time. Oikomi is generally where you do repeated strikes, often like down the length of a hall, like men, all the way down the hall. Mawari-geiko is a type of jigeiko actually, where you do jigeiko moving round. You do that sort of free practice moving around as a group. And Bokuto Keiko, the proper name is Bokuto ni yoru Kihon waza Keiko ho. It's the kind of fundamental technique practice using a Bokuto and kata, okay? Any special exercise or variation that you like to do or teach, like kubun geiko or butsukari geiko? I do practice butsukari geiko. Butsukari geiko is a kind of modified uchikomi geiko, though. And I like to, depends on the level of the students that I have, but I often have people that are not so experienced in doing lots of kakari geiko. So I often have them practice kakari geiko or uchikomi geiko in a pattern. All right, so I'll set them a pattern rather than have the motodachi decide the openings because often they're not able to do that efficiently at the stage that they're at. Otherwise, no, I don't do any. I don't practice kubun geiko, and I don't practice kubun geiko. Is like kubun geiko is where you do. Basically, kubun geiko is where you take several of the other practice methods and you put them all into a single set, as it were. So you would do like the teacher blows the whistle or something every 30 seconds or whatever, and you would first do like kirikaishi, then blow the whistle, you do chikomi, and then you blow the whistle, and then maybe jigeiko, and then blow the whistle, and it's kakari geiko, that sort of thing. That's kubun geiko. So no, I stick with the basics because they work the best. Okay, next one. I was at a recent seminar and we were practicing Kihon. I asked Sensei to clarify if Kakarite should go through after completing the waza, as he did not demonstrate it in this way. His answer was there's no reason to go through unless Motodachi does the Oji waza. Knowing this Sensei's Kendo, I know he meant this is in general for Zhang Xin because you lose sight of the opponent. I've commonly watched him execute his shikake waza and immediately body check his opponent. I think you mean taiatari. It's a bit different to body check. But yeah, his opponent after and look for hikiwaza opportunities. So why is going through encouraged so strongly as a habit by so many instructors? The sensei at the seminar is Hanshi for context. And I believe he finds going through as a habit to be somewhat meaningless gesture, but perhaps you have a deeper insight to offer. Thanks. Okay, I think I've got a bit of an idea of the sensei you're talking about actually. But that side, hitting and going through with your back to the opponent is not Zhang Xin, okay? That is not Zhang Xin. I've done a video about that. I'm pretty sure that my video is based on lecture from this same Hanshi. Turning your back on the opponent, losing sight of them, that is not Zhang Xin, okay? We practice it in Kihon, all right? Hit and go through because you practice momentum or ikioi in Japanese, momentum and stemi, throwing yourself to the cut, and fast ashisabaki, okay? It helps you practice your ashisabaki. In the real situation, in shiai or in jigeiko, in the grading, you shouldn't hit and go off with your back to them, okay? You should keep your eyes on them, all right? And the video I've got on Zhang Xin explains all about that. Next one, I was thinking about Waki-Gamae the other day, and I realized that part of the reason it's not very effective kamae in Shiai is because rising strikes are not taught as part of the Kendo curriculum. Why do you think that is? If someone were to do a rising strike, would it be considered ippon? So Waki-Gamae is from kata number 4, where you hold the sword behind you like this, and I assume by rising strike you mean like cutting upwards, which is one of the sort of ideas I think that would be attached to that kamae. We don't use that in Kendo because it's not part of the current kind of Kendo curriculum. We don't need them. They don't serve to Remember, Kendo is not about competing with our opponent to make more strikes than the other person did. It's not sword fighting. So I think that's why they don't exist. It could be dangerous. And if someone were to do it in Shiai or in Kendo, I cannot conceive I can't think of a situation where that would indeed be considered ippon. I'm not saying it wouldn't, because I'd have to see it happen in front of my eyes before I could judge, but I can't imagine how it would look for it to be acceptable to be considered valid. Okay, next one. I was thinking about what you recommend for the maintenance of Kendoga. Are there any differences in how we should take care of orizashi, synthetic leather, and deerskin, and synthetic or bamboo do? Currently, I use spray alcohol with some drops of essential clove oil to leave a small scent, as recommended by Paul Shin Sensei, to avoid a foul smell. And use an old damp tenuguri to clean sweat stains. Should I be careful about anything in particular? No, not really. I mean, look, between orizashi, synthetic, and deerskin, they don't need massive amounts of different maintenance, frankly. As long as you get them out of the burger bag when you're finished and leave them to dry properly before you use them again, that's the best thing you can do for any of those materials. Give them a wipe down with a damp cloth after practice as well. That will definitely help, especially on the men, if you wipe the inside of the men and the kote as well. And if you get salt stains on them, which does occur, there's a video I've done all about how to clean those off, so go and search for that. About do, synthetic do, of course, are very much easier to take care of than bamboo do. Bamboo do, you've got to be a bit careful about the temperatures that you expose them to. Don't want to get them too hot, don't want to get them too cold. You can't adjust the size of them that well either, without cracking the lacquer on them. You've got to make sure that they are looked after well, whereas synthetic do, you don't have to worry about nearly as much. So they're a lot easier to look after, and that's why they're much more popular. About spraying them with alcohol, it's not something I do. I've never done anything like that, but I hear there are people that do that. I have never bothered with it. And yeah, just make sure you wipe it with the old tenuguri, like you said, either straight after practice, when you get it out of the burger bag, something like that. If you give it a wipe down, that'll help it an awful lot. Next one, good morning from Canada. My question is, do you ever go back and watch older videos of your shiai? And if so, what do you find useful to look for in them? Thank you. So I don't look at much footage of myself that's more than like 6 months old. Occasionally I look at some of the stuff from maybe 2 or 3 years ago, maybe a bit longer, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. I sometimes look at that because that's when I was still very keen on competing, and I was at my sort of peak, as it were, in terms of my sort of competition career. But I don't look at that so much. I tend to look at recent stuff. It's less relevant to me, I feel like, if I look at stuff that's too old. I watched some of this stuff. I found some videos of myself when I was a beginner the other day. I looked at that, of course, just for nostalgic purposes, but I didn't learn anything from it. I do like to film my own Kendo though, and I watch that back all the time, but I do keep it modern, so I know exactly where I am right now. And I compare that with other Kendo that I prefer to emulate. Okay, that makes sense. Next one. Hey, Andy, I wanted to know if there's any method you use to remind yourself constantly of your own agenda in training. We all take focus on our own goals besides the common training goals, especially while instructing others. I often lack my private tasks because there's so much to look after. Have you got any advice not to lose a focus even while instructing? Okay, so actually, yes, I'm really conscious of what I'm focusing on, what I'm trying to improve, especially whilst I'm teaching, And it's the stuff I focus on. I'm never focusing on something that's really difficult. I mean, it is difficult, but like, I'm not like thinking, oh, how can I master like Men Kaishi Gyakudo or something like that. I don't think about that sort of thing. I'm thinking, how can I need to focus on keeping my left foot straight, bringing my left foot up quickly, moving with my hips, having good energy, basic stuff. It's always the basics. And that's the same stuff as I'm teaching. So I'm focusing myself on the stuff that I'm asking my students to focus on. I'm not interested in trying to focus necessarily on, really flashy wazo stuff like that. Of course, when I do Jigeiko, when it comes to Jigeiko though, then yes, that gives me a chance to focus on more advanced concepts, things like capturing the initiative, taking the sen, Devana waza, constructing a situation for Oji waza, stuff like that. And the way I do that is I just make sure I'm focused when I'm there. All right, when I start mokuso, think about what I'm going to focus on today, and it's there fresh in my mind all the way through the practice. Next one. Right, question. This is the last one, actually. Most of these questions, by the way, are from the Kendo Show Early Access Group. I forgot to mention that before. Well, these are from the Early Access Group. There's a link in the description below. It's a great place to post the questions, get in the group, because you don't just get my feedback. There's loads of Kendo in there from all over the world that'll chip in as well. So get in the group. Right, questions for you for different periods of your life. What made you teach Kendo? What was the most important lesson that you learned in your first year of teaching? What's the most important thing that you have learned whilst teaching? In your eyes, what's the difference between a sensei, coach, and captain? And what skills should each role have? Can't think of another way of phrasing it, and I don't know that they are all different roles, but they have quite a bit of overlap in some places I've visited. So, first one, what made me teach Kendo? I don't know. I didn't really. It's a bit hard. I don't know. I guess I didn't have much of a choice. It comes with progressing, and it kind of when my kids got into Kendo particularly, then I joined the dojo with them, and obviously I was a senior at the time. I think I was like 5th dan or something already. So, and I was an adult. It's more about being an adult than being dan grade, to be honest. But so already the kids looked to me as sensei. So I was already given that responsibility of being a teacher. The most important lesson I learned within that first year was that being teacher is leading by example. So it's not just saying this and that, but also you have to try to do your best to show what you're trying to teach. That's not always possible, and sometimes, and there was times when I was part of coaching very elite players actually in Japan who were much more skilled than I was, but even though I couldn't do it necessarily myself, I think as well it was important to recognize and still try to, even though I couldn't do everything that I was necessarily advising, a good. I guess it's really interesting. I've not really thought about this that much, but I guess this is going more into the coach section than the teacher section. So, yeah, I'd say the first year of teaching, especially the kids, was making sure I was always making a good kamae, good footwork, and good spirit, good voice, being the good example. And the most important thing that I've learned overall from teaching is that, I'm still learning a lot from teaching actually. But I guess the most, there's so much, but I think I'd say that Kendo is, what teaching Kendo has really given me is a real understanding of that Kendo is more than just a physical activity that two people carry out. Kendo is, it's not a sport. It's not just a budo. It's not just a game. And I'm not saying it's better than any of those things. It's just different to them. It is those as well. It is those things as well. It's what it is. But, Kendo isn't, especially as I was so involved in teaching kids. I said this before, it's a bit controversial, but Kendo's not entertainment. You're not supposed to enjoy. It's not bad to, you're not supposed to not enjoy, but it's not there to make you pleased or enjoy or have fun. It's odd to say, today was fun after Kendo. Kendo is a form of self-discipline and self-education. And I think that's something that I've really started to understand more as I've had the role of a teacher. In terms of the difference, and the importance of the basics, like that just occurred to me as well. Like the idea of like super flashy waza or difficult techniques, like it's not super relevant. The important thing is like ashtabaki footwork and how hard that is, and that's like number one. You have to fix that and get that down. I'd say that's something super important as well. And in terms of what's the difference between a sensei, coach, and captain, I think the sensei, like I say, the sensei means one who's lived before. That's what it means, yeah? So you are not just you're the example, but being a sensei is like, it's not something that you should assume, or you shouldn't say, right, I'm a sensei now. Since the idea of being sensei is something that happens to you rather than something that you take up. This is something I actually had a conversation with my wife about this after she got her 5th dan, and people started calling her sensei. And she said, oh, I really hate when people call me sensei. I said, well, you have to accept that it's correct for them to call you sensei, because that's the appropriate term for someone in your situation, in the environment that we're in. Just like there's people that are 3rd dan that get called sensei by children over in Japan, for example, because you are the example, the one that's gone before, that's there passing on the information from those who passed it on to you. Coach is a bit different. Coach is you're a little bit more, I think a coach is there to teach strategy, teach probably more like specific points about technique, things like that, give deeper explanations, and also take care of and provide leadership for a team, or a group or a club. So a tournament or something like that, you know, the coach is the one that would be making sure everybody's sorted and stuff like that. But the captain is a totally different role altogether. Now, the coach and the sensei roles, I think they don't need to be mutually exclusive. They can be one and the same, in terms of the person can be the same person doing that. You can do both of those at the same time. They're not necessarily separate roles. Being a captain, though, captain is different. Captain is, in a way, it's kind of the voice of the sensei or the coach. Yeah, the captain is there to make sure things go the way that sensei wants them to go. Yeah, so sensei wants everyone to line up this way, or wants the day to be said this way, wants the practice menu to be this way. Sometimes even lets the captain decide the practice menu, but you know, the captain is there to follow the direction and ensure everybody follows the direction of the sensei, if that makes sense. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing. Join the early access group, link in the description, and shop at KendoStar because it's the best. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.